Hi, Marc Frederic, the charcuterie anglais here. Today it's about the Ayrshire Cattle. There's the introductory cough again. Bloody thing. Sorry about that. Ayrshire Cattle. This is the last of the Scottish breeds I'm talking about. Move on to the English and other UK breeds soon. But just to go back to Ayrshire's. Ayrshire's are mainly a dairy cow. All right, so if you're thinking of getting into cattle in some way and you're looking for milk products, in particular if you want to get into cheese making and things like that, then Ayrshire could be the breed for you. They're relatively docile, but again, the warning is always be on your guard, especially when they got calves around them. You know, they can always turn on you, and they're only protecting their little ones. So be careful if you do choose cattle. But normally they're quite docile. In fact, I don't know if shy is the right word, but but let me use that word. You know, they're a little bit shy. There's something regal, very regal about an Ayrshire. I don't know what it is, but especially when you're out amongst them in a green field and things, and I don't know, you're just like in awe of their presence. You know, you feel blessed. I know you're going to think I'm bloody potty, but honestly, you know, I mean, sorry, but I've milked herds of Ayrshire, well, it's the same herd, on many occasions. Many years ago, I used to do a lot of relief milking, going around different farms, you know, where farmers could get a day off, and I'd milk their dairy herd for them, plus do other tasks on farm. But and there was one particular farm near Burt's Morton in Worcestershire that I used to visit, and they had a herd of Ayrshires, and that's how I first came across them. And albeit not in Scotland, it was, you know, in England, but it was just like, you know, wow, you know, I used to look forward to going to this particular farm, like every time. And there's something about their milk that you might say Jersey is better, certainly creamier, you know, and the Guernsey milk, you know, and those are two special dairy cattle there with brilliant milk. But the Ayrshire has, I don't know, like a refreshing, clean taste to the milk. Sounds odd, doesn't it? Yeah, but that's just my interpretation. And yeah, and it's been voted one of the best milks in the world on numerous occasions, and you can see why. So yeah, there's something special, and if you really wish to, albeit I say I wouldn't recommend it. You know, I would think think long and hard. You could even make an Ayrshire house cow. But just remember, cattle, they prefer company. So don't just buy one, you know, always have at least two, you know. So if you're small holding, crofting, and then a minimum of two. And the other thing about Ayrshire's is they're not, albeit they're tall for a native breed. Well, I think they are anyway. Medium size, edging on being bigger. They look relatively tall. They require very little help from vets. Very rare do you have to call a vet in on them. They're pretty good at looking after themselves. They're good at foraging, poor grazing. They're good on all kinds of ground. They're best suited on good grazing, I have to say, because of their milking capabilities. You have to be on top of their milking, I have to say. So you know, you can't really get away with once a day milking with an Ayrshire. It's got to be twice a day, because they produce that much. And albeit excuse me, albeit they'll live up to about 20 years. and they can produce a calf every year. The one thing you've got to be careful of is that their udders don't become too big. Maybe space a little bit of breeding, and maybe miss a year every now and again if you wanted to have a long life, and just give her a break, and so as the udder doesn't become too big. The thing is with cattle, when their udders become too big and they lay down, that there's a danger that when they're getting up, they step on one of their teats, and as they stand up, the teat is underneath the hoof. Just imagine that's one of the 4 teats underneath the hoof, and then of course they stand up, and they can cause some damage to themselves, where the teat is crushed and damaged, or even pulled right off. And this is all because the udders get too big, and with the length of the udder, and then the actual nipples right underneath the hoof, because they can be quite long, because everything grows. You're causing a danger, so you don't want to go there. So be mindful of that. Sometimes it's good to have udders where you can get your hand round it, for drawing out the milk and things like this. But sometimes you've got to also imagine, if it's too long with a big udder, then it's a danger zone. So think about these things. But other than that, they're absolutely smashing, beautiful, lovely reddish brown colour. Rumour has it they used to be black and white. I've never seen a black and white Ayrshire. Not in my lifetime. It may have been centuries past, but I'm not aware of it. But which just makes me think, all our British dairy cattle are all red and brown, aren't they? Jersey, Guernsey, Ayrshire, they're all red and brown, in one shape, form or another. All the black and white ones that we see that are in the mass market, are all Dutch and German Holstein Friesians. So black and white, so they don't belong in UK. Well, I say don't belong. They, probably some have been there longer than we have, but yeah. So British native breeds, dairy cattle, that is, red and white, or reddish brown. So there we are. So yeah, Ayrshire, brilliant, love it. I was always at calm when I was milking Ayrshire's. When I was amongst them, I used to think I was always at calm with any cattle. I'm just that type. But I remember one of the farmers I used to milk for. He used to said, "Oh, I love it when you come, Mark." He said, "Because our milk yield always goes up." He said, "You're ever so calm in the parlour." I just used to have the radio on. I never did any shouting. No hitting or sticking the cattle with plastic pipes or anything. None of that nonsense. And I just did everything calmly. And the more calm you were, the calmer they were. And when they're calm, they yield the milk. When they're stressed, they'll hold on to their milk. And you're trying to milk a cow that's trying to hold on to the milk because it's like not happy. Then you're causing issues. Anyway, this one farmer, he always used to say, "Love you coming." He said, "My milk yield always goes up." He said, "You more than pay for me to have a day off." So I took that as a huge compliment. So yeah, Ayrshire's good choice, really good choice. So if that's what you want, a dairy cow, not I'd try and steer you away from using it as a house cow, albeit you could. But if you're into dairy, you want to get into some artisan dairy products of some kind, yogurts, ice cream, cheese, that type of thing. Yeah, go for it. Good choice. Good choice. All right, that's it. We're moving on. We'll drop down over the border, as it were, and start talking about English cattle, and we'll get those covered. And I'll just pass on my 2 pence for what it's worth. But anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Have a good day. Toodaloo.